Hey everyone, Luke here now. Before I get into the video, I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, thank you for everyone that watched my UA investigation video where I basically watched Tekken's video about who I think the UA traitor is. Now, if you guys haven't seen it, I'll just let you know now. I think it's Toru, but there's a twist on that. I think Toru is actually Toga through other methods that happen. I go into more detail in my video that I did for that investigation. But yeah, basically I think Toga has acquired Toru's blood at some point, and she has the invisibility quirk as well as the camouflage quirk that she has. And I did mention this video in the video that I thought it was Darby that actually had the copying quirk, but no, it's actually Twice. So okay, I think Twice is the one that actually copied Toru when they were in the forest in order to maintain that disguise that Toru is actually there when in fact she's actually Toga. I still believe that Toru is Toga. I still believe in that theory, but I just wanted to say to you guys thank you for that, and also to elaborate on some things that I missed out when I did the investigation video. But I'm still proud that I did that video. I don't know if I've won yet. I believe there's a few days left. I think it was the 20th that Tekken announced that that's where the investigation video is actually going to end, and then he's going to tally up all what he thinks. So fingers crossed that I actually do win that. But that's what I wanted to say. I want to say to you guys thank you for that. It really helped me build up in my confidence when I'm actually doing these videos. I still love doing these videos, but just that boost that I got from just that one video that I did, that people actually watched me, actually liked my theory, actually liked me, that really just helped me a lot. And I'm really pleased, and I really hope that more people actually start coming to these videos. I know that Mr. Wash is doing his best, and I really appreciate what he's been doing, advising me on my videos. I'm really grateful for him, and I'm really grateful that he's the one that continuously watches me and says I'm doing a great job and doing great videos. I've got to keep up the good work. So yeah, this is more or less a thank you. This is why I've kept on going, just the fact that that one person I said keep going, you're doing great, and I'm really appreciative for that. But anyway, that's what I wanted to say about that. So yeah, let's just get into this video because I've been really looking forward to talking about this chapter. Alright, so this will be chapter 107, titled It Makes Me Sick. And yes, it does make me sick, the fact that Andrew is still going out for these kids, that he doesn't recognise them as human beings, that he's going to come back to bite him in the arse later on. Particularly in this chapter where Lucas and Yuugo are going back to actually fight his crew in order to give the kids a chance to escape. And I really love that about them. Like, they're actually really taking, like I've been saying, they're actually really taking on that adult responsibility for these kids, and the sense that they're putting themselves on the line in order to give them a chance to escape and make a better world for themselves. And this chapter is primarily a flashback chapter. We get to see Yuugo and Lucas when they were in an orphanage themselves and what they were kind of like. And it's kind of a neat parallel to the situation that we've had with Emma, Ray and Norman. Like they had like a combination of Ray, Emma and Norman's personalities melded into them, and we see plenty of that in this chapter. But anyway, let's get into it. Alright, so the chapter starts off with the kids going along the desert land trying to get back to the forest where Songju and Musica is, and we see Lucas and Yuugo. We see the flashback saying like, don't worry about us, we'll be joining you as soon as possible. But we also see in one of the panels, we see an owl just lurking over the kids, and that's and like I said, that's been like one of the main symbols of the series pretty much from the beginning, like when we found out about William Minerva and how his symbol on his books was an owl. And like it's taken like over 100 chapters to get to this point where we actually see like an actual proper owl in this series, and we don't know what the significance of this owl actually is at the moment, but it may come into play later on that they may actually find, like, this may actually be William Minerva's pet, like James Rattari. It may actually be his actual pet owl, because it seems weird, like, why would he pick an owl of all things to actually be the symbol for his books? But maybe that's because he actually does have a pet owl that's actually watching over everyone and seeing like if these can actually be the ones that can actually change the course of the world that's going on at the moment. We don't know. So anyway, we see one of the kids asking Emma if Yuugo and Lucas are going to be okay, and we see a panel that shows that Emma is unsure of herself at this moment in time, which makes me believe that maybe she expects them to like not get out of this situation, or she wants to have hope for them, but she's not sure based on what's happened in the previous chapter, like with those two kids actually being shot dead. She's kind of in a different mindset at the moment, like she doesn't know if they're actually going to make it back at this moment in time, even though she wants them to, and she has to keep up that facade, like she actually believes that they can actually make it back. As she says, yeah, they'll definitely be okay. Now let's make it to the forest before morning comes. But like I said, she has that look on her face, particularly when she's thinking about what Yuugo said to her, like, we will come back later, that she may not actually believe that they can actually get out at this moment in time, and they may actually be captured or killed. That they'll most likely be killed at this point, because based on what's happened and now they're actually going back to fight Andrew's crew, they'll most likely get themselves killed. And I think Emma's actually mentally preparing herself at this moment, like she doesn't know what to say or what to do to ease the worries of the younger kids, and it may be actually a fact that she wants to say that she doesn't believe that they can make it out at this moment, but she wants to have that faith that yes they can. And that's what I really love about Emma's character. Like she has so many emotions at certain points, like like we don't actually know what emotions she's going to have, and it makes her a much more fascinating character. Like we don't actually know what she's actually going to do next. We get the title page which shows Yuugo and Lucas just towering over one of Andrew's men as they've actually killed him, and saying those who will not surrender for their sake, obviously referring to the children and the actual cattle children as Andrew has put it, and wanting them to actually survive. And like I said in the last review, like I feel like Lucas and Yuugo actually doing this makes it a lot more easy for them to actually go out and be like pure, because I don't think they wanted them to break the pure that they have, even though Ray was more than willing to go back and actually kill these humans for actually what they've actually been doing to them. But I feel like Lucas and Yuugo, because they're more adults and they can actually deal with that burden, and they're okay with it, and they've actually stated like if they're going to die here, it's best if they're this place. So it's kind of like they're using this as kind of like it may actually be their swan song, and a lot of people have been getting death flags from them, and if that's the case, it wouldn't surprise me. Even though I love those two characters, I love Lucas and Yuugo, it doesn't surprise me if they are actually going to die, because I feel like their story's done, and Yuugo particularly, his story's done. Like he's gone on a great character arc throughout these last two arcs, from the arc that he's been introduced to the Goldie Pond arc to the final arc. I feel like he's gone on such an amazing journey from being this selfish person who just didn't care if the kids were being killed or not, to actually having a family in a sense. Sort of like what's happened, it's sort of like a neat parallel to Ray and Emma's situation. Like I said, there's a lot of parallels between Lucas and Yuugo and Ray and Emma in this situation, and this becomes more apparent once we get into the flashbacks with them as we go through the chapter. So anyway, we get Lucas and Yuugo walking around the shelter, and we get Yuugo thinking, I remember when we first arrived at the shelter. We get the first flashback of their childhood, like proper flashback back to when they were actually kids, when they first entered the shelter, and we see one of the younger girls going, is Mr. Minerva in here? Which means that they obviously found out what was going on in this world, and they found out the legend about Mr. Minerva, and they went to actually find him as well, and they found the shelter, like what's been stated in previous arcs and previous chapters. Like he came to the shelter specifically to find Mr. Minerva, but they found nothing here. But looking at Yuugo here, he does look so similar to either it's now I don't know what to think, because I've always stated that he looks very similar to Ray. I've always said that, like, he looks very similar to Ray, but looking at him in his younger days, he looks more like a combination between Zack and Don. Now I don't know if there's a connection here, but I'm seeing like a lot of connections between other characters that have been introduced, like Dom, Ray, and Zack, and I don't know if this is actually something that they're actually planting the seeds of. Like there are multiple fathers for these fathers or uncles or cousins for these kids that are actually in these shelters, which makes sense, because there could not be that many kids coming into the shelters, as opposed to the actual world where there's like 6 billion humans in the world. There's only like I don't know, about 20,000 kids in this demon world that's being produced over and over, and eventually the genes are going to get down to the point that there's going to be like some interchange between certain characters. Like some characters are going to look very similar to others in that regard. I don't know, but like, yeah, Yuugo in his younger years looks very similar to several characters that we've actually seen in the past few chapters and the few arcs. As Yuugo and Lucas are continuing to walk through the shelter, we see Yuugo going on to say to Lucas that if you think about this all stems from the Ritari clan. The death of Nerva and that hunting ground too. Diana and everyone's enemies was really, and we see him getting cut off, but you can tell that he was actually going to say, was really humans, which just shows the moral grey area again of this world. Like, not every demon is out to kill the humans very quickly, just the snap of their fingers, like Songju and Musica. But at the same time, not every human is going to be like very protective and very nurturing of them, as we've seen with characters like Andrew and Peter and Isabella. Even though Isabella did care for the kids that she was raising them to still be cattle, so it shows that even she had some dark aspects to her, and especially when she broke Emma's leg. That was like one of the like holy shit kind of moments in this series, and I feel like that was just telling us just how great this world is, and I feel like that's going to come into play when they do get into human world, because I feel like this arc, even though it's the final arc, it's going to involve a lot of location jumping, and it's going to involve going to the human world and then ultimately fighting demons, and then leading us to the Demon King, and then possibly Peter, and then Grandma, because I feel like Grandma is actually going to play a big role coming up in the final arc. I feel like she's not going to be someone that's just been just being covered with the shadow all the time. Like I said in previous videos, I've always compared it to like Dr. Claw and Ozen, like Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget and Ozai from Avatar: The Last Airbender, how they were always covered in shadows until it was appropriate to actually reveal them. With Dr. Claw's case, we never actually saw him in the original show being revealed who he actually was, but with Ozai, he was kept in shadows until the final season. And since this is the final arc, I feel like Grandma's actually going to come out of the shadows, and we're actually going to see what she looks like. Also, before we continue on, I just want to say that flashback that Yuugo had with the girl that's on the floor, Dana, I feel that's actually going to come into play, and that's going to be a big parallel to what happened with Norman and Emma at the beginning of the series, like why Norman was so protective of Emma. I think you all know what's coming here. Like, yeah, I'm just going to spoil it. Here. Yuugo, I think it was Yuugo, I could be wrong, it could be Lucas, but I think Yuugo was the one who was actually in love with Dana, and when she actually died, I feel like that just really got to him and just really had him shut off. And I feel like if Norman actually dies, if Ray or Norman actually dies, then that's going to shut Emma off. It's going to be, I think it's going to be like a moment like with in One Piece where Luffy was in the Marineford War and Ace got fisted by him. I wanted to get on the train of making a fisting joke about Ace, but yeah, where Ace got fisted right in front of Luffy, and he just shut off completely. Luffy just shut off completely. I feel like that's going to be a moment that's going to happen with Emma if Ray or Norman actually dies, in the same way that it happened with Yuugo and this Dana girl. How he just completely shut off. He didn't want any family at that point, and he shut himself off in that shelter, and he got so cold and callous that it took others like interacting with him and showing like there can be hope for him to actually come out of his shell and actually be a adult figure that all the kids could look up to. So yeah, Yuugo goes on to say, if it's here, dying wouldn't be too bad. That's why I always thought, but they're the ones who will be dying. And we see Lucas agreeing with him before saying, let's go. Even if they kill us, there's no way we'll let them get to Emma and the rest, which shows just how much bravery these two actually have again. Like, they have a feeling that they are going to die, and they're okay with it, particularly in this shelter where they have so many memories. It's bringing back so many memories of their family. Like, if they were to die right here, they would be completely happy, because then they'll be thinking about the family that they had when they first escaped their imprisonment at the farms, and they actually tried to make a living in the demon infested world without the burden of actually being eaten, and it just brings back so many and that's one thing. That's one thing I feel like everybody wants to experience. Like when they die, they want to be back in a place that just brings them so many memories of people they actually loved and cared about. And in this case, Yuugo and Lucas, if they're gonna go down, they're gonna go down in a big way, and they're gonna go down protecting a new family that they've created, whilst also protecting a family, whilst also being reminiscent of a family that they already had before they had this one. And that's what I love about these characters. How they're just, particularly all the characters in the prose, that how they're just thinking about others and just showing like, no, we have to think about others, we have to stick together, we have to be strong, because that's the only way we're going to survive in this world. And that's a really good message to take away from this series. So anyway, we cut to Andrew saying, "Service team and monitor room, do you copy?" But of course he's not getting any response, and he says, "Did the cattle children get them? Have they already got away? Something else that he didn't expect?" And he says, "I'll confirm this," as we see various scenes of his team going through the various areas of the shelters, and one of the members of his team saying there isn't anybody in the monitor room. And this is why this is something that's really interesting as well, because it shows that despite Andrew, how intelligent he actually is, he's not as intelligent. I don't think he's as intelligent as Peter or Lewis or Isabella, in the sense that particularly Isabella and Lewis, in the sense that he's underestimated just how intelligent these kids actually are. Even though it's made entirely clear that they're getting perfect scores, I don't think they actually know the scores of several of the kids in this situation, which shows just how arrogant they're actually being and how much they're underestimating them, and that's leading to their downfall in this operation. Like, they're not actually making any progress because they're seriously underestimating just how intelligent, how powerful their enemies are actually being. Not powerful in the sense like they have Goku or Saitama or Ichigo's level power, but powerful in the sense that they're outthinking them, and they're being calm and collective in situations, and they're thinking of things outside of the box in order to combat them. Sort of like that power, like they're thinking outside of the box rather than just being really scared of the fear of actually being killed in this situation. And that's something Andrew is going to have to really think about if he wants to actually have a chance of getting the kids and taking Lucas and Yuugo down. Like, he has to be like, okay, I can't underestimate them. And I feel like Andrew is going to fail in this regard. Like, he's going to fail in this situation, but then next time he actually meets the groups, he's going to be like, I underestimated you, but that's not going to happen again. And it will show just how much he's actually grown and how much more of a threat he could actually be in upcoming chapters if he actually fails at this point. Anyway, as Andrew's man is relaying in, saying like, there's nothing here, we see Yuugo emerge from behind a door, just take the guy completely out of surprise, and then we see bang, 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 and then we see him on the phone on the radio to Andrew saying, "Hey, hello, can you hear me, gentlemen?" And then we see Yuugo going on a complete murder spree, and it's just like, yes, even though Yuugo is doing what Andrew's team is actually claiming to do, like actually coming to kill them, he's doing it in a way that makes it more heroic, because he's defending kids in this regard from being killed just for existing, not for any particular moral reason. Like, those kids are gonna grow up to be I don't know, Hitler or a dictator of a country. No, they're actually cattle, and they need to die because they're cattle, they're nothing. And that's what makes Yuugo's moral code here much more heroic, because he's actually protecting these kids so that they actually have a chance to survive, which is like the difference between what Andrew's doing and what Yuugo's doing. And we see him going on that murder spree and saying to Andrew, "I've already taken care of 3 of your men. Today, right here, you are all going to die. That's all there is to it. If you think you can kill me, I'd like to see you try. I will make it back." And we see that just the most badass face from Yuugo that he's ever made. Like, there's just so much determination on that face, and it really just, I know I keep saying it, I know I sound like a broken record, but it really just looks like Ray's determined face. Like, particularly when he was in the forest facing down those demons, and it's like, I'm not going to go back there, and if you think you can get me, come after me. It's the same exact situation here, and I really do think Ray and Yuugo are actually related, because of how similar characters they are and how much of a determination they actually have at this point to protect the families that they have. But of course, this isn't going to stop Andrew at one bit, as we see his quick thinking and him going, all units code 3, change your frequency, and we see all these men changing the frequency of their radios and actually to actually have a private chat with him without the interference of others getting in their way, like with Lucas and Yuugo. And we see him thinking to himself, going, how many of them are still inside? That man just now was most likely at a decoy that stayed behind. It's no problem. As long as we can take the shelter, that'll be the end of it. Oh, no. Just because you take over this shelter does not mean it will be the end of it, Andrew, because you don't know what's out there in that forest. Even though if you go after those kids, yeah, that'll probably be your end. If you try to go after those kids in that forest when they actually do make it in the morning, and you actually come in contact with Songju, that's gonna really blow your mind. Like I said before, there are actually demons that will actually help out the kids rather than actually killing them. And I feel like I get the feeling that Andrew really needs something to happen. Like Andrew needs to meet Songju in order to get this idea across that there are some demons that are actually going to help these kids out. We continue on with Andrew saying, whether he's a decoy or not, he must die. We could chase down the rest afterwards. We'll be able to hunt down every last one of them. No, I don't think you will. Even if you are capable of doing that, Andrew, I don't think that will be as easy as just being like, oh, we need to go to this place, shoot them dead, yeah, we win. That is not going to be easy as that. I guarantee you to that. He continues on to go and saying, like, first off, let's take care of the ones inside first. There's a high possibility that he's stolen our equipment. Everyone, equip your masks. In addition to the bullets not being as effective, be careful not to be deceived. If you get a shot, make for the head. Thank you! Somebody actually brought that up. That somebody is actually going to aim for the head, because I really hate it in various series, like when people are just shooting at random and they're just shooting the body. It's like, no, aim for the head. That's where the brain is. That's where you can actually kill them. Why don't people do more of that? I know, I'm sorry I went off on a tangent, but it's really a problem when people are actually trying to figure out a way, like, oh, how do we kill these people? Like, no, you got to shoot them in the brain, because as soon as the brain turns off, even in a human, as soon as the brain turns off, then they're dead and they're not coming back. And I really love that actually somebody actually brought that up. And we see Andrew going on to say, is that clear? Now let's all deal with this. Don't let a single one escape. And we see his men going, yes, sir. So, yeah, it is on now. It is on. Lucas and Yuugo versus Andrew's team. I feel like we're going to be sticking on this fight, because let's be honest, it's an actual fight now. It's a fight for survival between Yuugo and Lucas in order to make sure that they don't actually escape from this shelter to actually find the kids. And for Andrew's team, and I feel like Andrew is going to be the longest to take down. Like, there's going to be a lot of distractions. There's going to be a lot of tactical maneuvers at this point. It's going to be more reminiscent of the fight with Lewis. And if that's the case, if we are going to be sticking on this point in the series at this point in the actual arc at this moment, I'm happy with it, because it gets us to see like what Andrew can actually do, and if he is actually going to survive and escape, or if he's actually going to be taken down but not actually killed. Even though I made this mistake with Lewis, I don't feel like Andrew's going to be one to actually die. I feel like they're going to wound him and just escape at that point in order to think about the kids. And I feel like that's where Lucas and Yuugo are actually going to meet Songju and be like really skeptical of him, in the same way that Emma and Ray were when they first met him. I feel like that's going to be an issue that's going to be addressed, or it could be the other way, like with Andrew actually beating Lucas and Yuugo and actually escaping, and then him actually getting killed by Songju. There are several possibilities that this can actually go, but if we are actually sticking on this particular fight at the moment, the fight for survival in the shelter, as I'm going to be referring to it, I feel like I'll be happy with that, because it'll get us to see what Lucas and Yuugo and Andrew can actually do. We come over to Lucas, who's walking down one of the corridors and saying 5 more to go, and we see him just rushing everywhere and saying, come at me, I'm right here, and we see him shooting the bullets everywhere. And may I remind you that Lucas only has it only has one arm, and it's his left hand. And I don't know if Lucas was actually right-handed when he first lost his right arm. But the fact that he's able to do this with his left arm and still survive for this long, taking down 3 men, just shows just how impressive of stamina and strength and determination he actually has. So anyway, we see one of Andrew's men going over to him and saying, at the south corridor, unknown number of targets. It's an obvious trap. Wait for us to arrive. Is the phrase that Andrew gives to this guy. But it just shows that even though they think that they outnumber them, they're not actually showing. It just shows like it again, the tacticalness of this actual series. Like, okay, we're not sure how many people there are, so we're actually going to stand back and wait for reinforcements before we actually have a shot of taking down these people. But anyway, as the guy is still looking around and saying Roger, we see Yuugo go up behind him and just shoot him in the back, and that just shows like no matter what, don't have your back to look. Keep looking around. Don't keep looking around. Be thinking tactfully, but also not letting go of the fact of your surroundings, because you don't know where the enemy can actually come up from. And Yuugo once again gets a guy in the back of the head, and he says 4 left. And this is just getting me really pumped up. I knew this was going to be an awesome chapter based on what happened last chapter, like with Yuugo and Lucas, and just how badass they actually are as characters, and how awesome they are, and how they actually have a purpose to fighting for. I really love that, and I'm really loving this chapter. I'm really digging this chapter. It might be one of my favourite chapters of the arc at the moment. Also, I just want to mention the awesome teamwork between Lucas and Yuugo at this moment in time, because even though they were separated for like what must be 13 years, yeah, it was 13 years, even though they were separated for 13 years, the fact that they still remembered each other, and the fact that they still remembered what they were all about, what their abilities were, what their strengths were, what their weaknesses were, and they're able to communicate with each other effectively, even though they've lived in the shelter for 2 years at this point in the story between the Goldie Pond arc and the final arc. The fact that they're just able to communicate so well, not even really speaking, just being like, okay, we know the tactics of each other, we have an idea of how we can take down these people, and it just really shows just how awesome they work together as a team. And I really believe that I can really buy the fact of how really good friends they were, even more so when they actually did reunite with each other. Anyway, after the death of one of his other men, Andrew goes, "Damn it," and we see "damn it" in like really bold writing, which just shows just how desperate he's actually getting at this point. Like, there's so little of them, and the fact that these bugs are actually able to take them down. It just shows that how much he's grossly underestimated them. And we see him going after Yuugo. We see him nearly get a shot in, but Yuugo just dodges out of the way, just drops out of the way, and is able to get back to Lucas in record-breaking time. And we just see Lucas just firing to get a distraction from Andrew and the man that is behind him, which leads us into a flashback. Oh, I've been looking forward to this. Like, this is the moment of the chapter that I've been really looking forward to talking about, because it is so much of a parallel between Emma and Ray and Norman's upbringing here, with Lucas, Yuugo, and this other girl, this Dana girl, who was mentioned right at the beginning of this chapter as one of the kids that actually died, and that really pissed Yuugo off. As Yuugo and Lucas are having this flashback and they're fighting Andrew's group, we see Dana go. I think it is Dana. I think this is the girl is actually called Dana. We see her going, "Geez, are you fighting again?" And we see Lucas and Yuugo having a disagreement, and it gets me like really believing that these two are more than just friends. They're like brothers. Well, they are brothers because they grew up together in this orphanage. So yeah, I'm gonna call them, like with Ray, Emma, and Norman, how they're closely bonded, like they're more of brothers, even more so than the other kids. Like, they have a special connection, and it's the same thing with Yuugo and Lucas. Like, they actually consider themselves brothers in that regard. Particularly when they were reunited and they just started crying and hugging each other. It's like, you made it, and you made it, and I'm glad somebody made it. And we see it here. We see them, even though they're fighting, we see them having a good time together, like how siblings are. Like, I have 3 siblings. Unlike Tekken, who doesn't have any siblings, I have siblings, so I can actually relate to this. Like, even though me and my brothers and sister fight sometimes, we a lot of the time we can actually play together, and we can actually get along. And even though we say stuff like, "Oh, just go away for a while, please, just go away," we're still there for each other, and I'll still be there for my brothers and sister when they need it, in the same way that they're always there for me as well. And they're the ones that, even though we argue with each other and we fight with each other, if somebody's like actually Buenos Ortizos were the ones like, hey, you have no right to do that. And I really love that about Lucas and Yuugo's relationship, how, particularly in these flashbacks, how we're seeing them, how we're seeing their interaction. Even from just these brief flashbacks, we get a clear idea of what their relationship actually is. As the flashback continues, which is intercut with the fight, we see Lucas and Yuugo playing tag with each other. I think it is tag. I think it's the same game that Emma, Ray, Norman and all the other kids played when they were back in the orphanage. And we see them going, awesome, that was perfect, when it's clear that they actually won the game in the flashback in the orphanage. And again, it just they remind me so much of Emma and Ray. Like, Lucas and Yuugo remind me so much of Emma and Ray, particularly Yuugo is so much like Ray. It's so unbelievable. Like, not just Ray, but he also has a hint of Emma in, as we'll see coming up here, a hint of Emma and Norman in this regard. They both have various personality traits of Emma, Norman and Ray in this regard. Like, Yuugo more so Ray, but Lucas more so Emma and Norman, particularly from their distinct personalities with each other. Like, Lucas is more of the happy-go-lucky type, but he's also really intelligent, which is obviously Emma and Norman's, whereas Yuugo, despite being the cold outsider, is willing to interact with others. And that's sort of like how Ray is, how he's like more of the the lone wolf type of character. That's the same thing with Yuugo. And going on, we see them as they're continuing fighting. We see Yuugo trip, but Lucas just catches him with his. Let me remind you just how much of a strong-willed Lucas actually is. With his arm, not even with his arm. Like, I think his arm is actually curved. He's like just like that. Lucas is there, just firing at everyone. Yuugo's tripped, and Lucas has got Yuugo on his shoulder here as he's firing at Andrew's group. Like, that just shows, again, just how much strong-willed he has. It's like, no, you are not dying, even though we may think we're going to die here, Yuugo, you're not dying yet. You're not dying until we've actually killed these guys and give Emma a chance to actually escape. And we see going into more flashback with Dana, we see Lucas going over to a younger Yuugo saying, Dana, no, wait, if you like her, then you should just say it. And we see Yuugo going, as if I could tell her, Lucas. And again, it's just reminding me so much of Norman, Ray, and Emma, of how they interact, particularly Emma and Norman, how they had that sort of like loving relationship that was more romantic, I think it was. And it's the same thing with Ray and Yuugo. I think, like, even though I would love it to be Emma and Norman, I feel like it's going to be more Ray and Emma at this point, just because of how so much they've been through. Even without Norman, they've been through so much together. I feel like Ray and Emma are going to be the ones to actually get together, even though they're siblings, they're foster siblings. I feel like just because they've had so much going on, I feel like they're gonna have that moment where it's like, I love you more than a brother, and I know you love me more than a sister, and I feel like I get a feeling that that's sort of like where they're going here, how they're just being a parallel, because like I said earlier, like, there's not a lot of people in the Steam world, so there's going to have to be someone that they're going to have to get with, and it may actually have to be one of their foster siblings, or a sibling from another orphanage. It's going to have to be something if they want these children to actually continue breeding at certain points, even though I'm pretty sure, there may be a way to actually do it, like it's probably like a sperm donor, like they actually get inserted or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, let's get away from this. So we see Yuugo and Lucas still running, and this actually ties into what I was saying earlier about why Yuugo, we actually get a reason about why he actually became so detached and so like, I don't want to go out, I just want to live my life in this shelter, because I think all that time he was just thinking like, I failed Dana, I love Dana and I failed her, she got killed because I failed her. And I feel like he just wanted to just detach himself from emotions, and it was only when he found out that Lucas was alive that he actually came out of his shell. I feel like he probably came out of his shell and found a purpose in his life again, and that's what I really love about his character. Like, he had a reason for hating interactions and building relationships. It wasn't just like, I don't want to do anything with you. It's like he didn't want to go through the pain of losing someone he actually cared about again. Continuing on with the flashback, I think we get to a point here now where it's like they've actually found out what's going on, and we see Yuugo saying to Lucas, Dana, and I think there's another kid there. I can't tell because the bubble is actually distorting them. So I think there's actually yeah there is another kid there. So there's like 4 kids. I can actually see it now. I can actually tell. So there's Yuugo saying to Lucas, Dana, and this other kid, like, let's run away together. And I feel like this is after they've actually figured out what's actually going on with the orphanages. And we can cut back to Lucas thinking about that was fast. They've already turned the corner, and it shows them just being chased. And I feel I've just realised there's actually a shadow where you see at the end of the corridor that Lucas and Yuugo are at, and we see a shadow of a gun and 2 guys, and that's where that's where Lucas gets the idea of that was fast. They've turned the corner, and then we see Yuugo just shooting without caring about getting Andrew's guy, just like getting him in the brain, just splaying everywhere. And we see Andrew going like, holy shit, they actually got someone else. And then we see Yuugo just like with his own determination, just running past the guy with Lucas, just giving no fucks about the guy that he's just killed. And he's going, for the past 13 years, I've been living thinking demons were the only enemies. But that time and then, all of it, every bit, it makes me sick to my stomach. Our lives aren't some tool for you bastards to use. So, and we see Yuugo once again getting that same face of determination that Ray and Emma obviously have. And I really love this. Like, it's just so determined now to just like be like, no, you are not killing us. We are humans. We have a chance to live. We are going to live. And just the amazing character development from Yuugo in this chapter is just so determined to like get out of this situation and defeat these people, because they've just ruined their lives and they want a chance to actually rebuild and make their lives a whole lot better. I feel like Yuugo has fights this chapter, he's gone like, this is what I love about characters, how they can actually change my perspective on them and my viewpoints on them. How at the beginning I didn't really like Yuugo, but now that we've seen like all the development from him, where he's been, what he did, why he's become the way he is, and now in this chapter he's like easily in my top 5 characters, and this is the chapter like that's really cemented him as one of my top 5 characters. Just the amazing arc and the amazing character development, especially from this chapter that he's gone on, and we see just how determined he's actually being, and we get in flashbacks of him saying, this is the moment, I won't lie, this moment coming up where he coming up here got me crying. Like, this moment here got me crying. Like, he says, I've lost everything, but got something back I could never have dreamed of. And we see images of his former family, and then we see that have been killed by the demon, and the humans as well. And again, it just shows just how great this area is. Like, not everybody is pitch perfect. It's not demons bad, humans good. It's all very great here. And he got back something that he could never have dreamed of, and it's just like, oh my god, just so amazing. Like, it's just thinking about Emma, like Emma and her group of kids have actually become his family now, and he has to be like the older adult. He has to be like the father figure, or the older brother figure, or the older uncle figure that he couldn't be anymore to his old family, but now that he's got something else, he's got a purpose to fight for again, and it just makes his determination to actually see them survive just come out so well. And again, like I said, that moment just got me crying. It just let me go, and I was really happy that this moment was actually put in. I was just like, that's deep, man. Yuugo, you're the man. As Yuugo goes on to say 3 more to go, we get another good bit of character development from him, saying no matter how many times you try, there's no way you're taking them away. Again, referring to Emma's group. And this just got me reminded of, if anybody's watched Made in Abyss, which, by the way, I might as well talk about that, because I just watched the trailer for the English dub of Made in Abyss the other day. Even though there are some voices that I'm like, really? I don't think it fits their character. The voice that they got down was Nanachi, and that was the voice that I think like they really needed to nail, particularly what happens in the final episode of Series 1 of Made in Abyss. That is just like, my god, if I was gonna pick a depressing backstory, like the most depressing backstory, I mean, people say like Nico Robin or Brooke from One Piece, that's pretty sad, but no. Nanachi and Minty's backstory, that just takes the cake, and it's very similar. It's very similar here. Like Yuugo just doesn't want his new family to be taken away from him in the same way that Nanachi did not want Minty to be taken away from her, because she was the one that really felt like she was family to her, and that's a moment that just really reminded me of that, and I'm really praised for that, for this series, that they've actually made me remember that, even though it made me cry like a complete idiot, that moment between Nanachi and Minty. You know what I'm talking about. You guys know the messed up backstory of Nanachi and Minty in episode 13 of Made in Abyss. You guys know about it. Even if you don't know about it, you've probably heard of it. But anyway, going on to the final bit of the chapter, we see Andrew being really shocked as Yuugo and Lucas take aim and going, "We'll definitely stop you bastards in your tracks right here." And he sees those children, those cattle children look like, and then that's where the chapter says we don't see what Andrew's actually thoughts actually are. I don't think we do. No, we don't. So yeah, that's the end of the chapter. Like I said, really good, really awesome chapter. We got a lot of character development from Yugo's part about what he thought of his original family, how he interacted with his original family, and Lucas in the orphanage, how their relationship was when they were really young in the orphanage, and it just shows just the determination that both of them have on their part. And that moment there with Andrew when saying those character children look like ... I feel like he's gonna say they look like adults, and he's gonna be like, I never expected adults to be here, and he might actually try to manipulate them, and they're just going to be like, no thanks, we're not going to be listening to you. We're humans, we deserve a chance to live, and we're going to prove it. And if we're staking on this fight at this moment in time, I'm really happy with this, because we might get the same thing that happened in this chapter, but with Lucas's perspective in the next chapter, and see his determination, like what we saw with Yuugo in this chapter. So yeah, that's all I want to say on the chapter. Really good chapter, really strong, solid chapter with plenty of character development and a lot of action, and I feel like we're going to be sticking on this fight for a while. But anyway guys, what did you guys think? Let me know, like, subscribe, all that jazz, and just go and enjoy the series, and go and watch Made in Abyss and everything. It's just so amazing. I love this series. I generally do, as you can probably tell from these videos, that I find very few faults with it. It does have its faults, every series does, but this series, I really am proud to say that it is my favourite manga series, and particularly this chapter, when that gets animated, I am just going to be so looking forward to it, and I really hope whoever they find to voice Yuugo is going to do an absolutely fantastic job. But anyway, that's what I wanted to say, guys. This will be Lash Luke signing off. Later, guys.